Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Welcome to an all-new episode of The Payoff. I'm Tom. That's Jeff. Jeff, how the hell are you doing?
Not too bad, man. How about you? This is I'm excited for this one, but I'm feeling good. We're coming off of some different shows here, just kind of things happening, and so Elimination Chamber this last weekend. Just it's an exciting time. We are the next show is the big one, so I'm ready.
Man, this is gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah, this one a little crazy. I think I picked this one because this is not the first time we've actually talked about this card. We covered the women's match on this one before, and I think when I was just kind of looking at this one, it was like, you know what, I think I had said try in 2024, or kind of the payoff resolution for me was to try and find some different matches, some wrestlers we haven't seen before, maybe some shows we haven't seen before, or not talked about much, some of those pay-per-views, and maybe some one-off type things. And this is one where it's two guys we haven't covered from a show that, was overall really good. This is a good match. And so I'm shocked we have, surprised we at least haven't talked about Neville. Like Bo Dallas, you don't think about putting on a lot of great matches, but he was, the champ at NXT come in this one. And so, he did a lot. And of course, the connection to Bray, as we all know. So, just exciting stuff.
Good, man. I'm pumped to cover this one. It'll be a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You ready to get into it?
Let's just rock and roll, man. Let's do this.
All right. It's time for the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
NXT ArRIVAL 2014 Full Sail University. So this is early on in the NXT lineage. God, it's hard to believe it's been 10 years since all of that started. So just there's like a 10-year history of NXT. We'll get into this, but I mean, they really loaded this one up. There was a pre-show panel with Kevin Nash, Paul Heyman, Bret Hart, and Renee Young.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, they were making a really big deal about this. It was pretty cool. Let's get to the card here. Cesaro's going to defeat Sami Zayn in 22 minutes, which, I mean, how is that not awesome, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mojo Rawley defeated CJ Parker in 3 minutes. The Ascension retained their tag team championships in 6 minutes, defeating Too Cool. Paige is going to defeat Emma in 12 minutes. Tyler Breeze and Xavier Woods ends in a no contest. And then we have the ladder match that we're here to cover, which is going to be a lot of fun. That's it, man. I mean, this is beginning of NXT. It's we're back at Full Sail. There were people apparently waiting outside. They couldn't get in. Did a huge number on the network. I mean, just a really, really interesting show, interesting time. It's just a new era of WWE. I mean, I guess in some ways it feels like, the current era, if you will, but I mean, network and streaming and, NXT, controlling your farm system, if you will. I mean, you look at the names that have gone through NXT and God, it's almost half the roster now. We're going to talk more about NXT when we get into the match, but just really fun. How did we get to this match? These two fighting for a heavyweight championship and the ladder match stipulation.
Yeah, so this was interesting because like NXT was not what we know it today. And so it was pre-taped back then, but this was a big deal because like I said, this was the first true, premium, paper, like kind of event takeover that they were doing. That's why it's called ArRIVAL. So, getting into this one, so you actually had Neville winning. What we're gonna, for the sake of conversation, we're gonna say Neville, but this is Pac, the bastard Pac, whatever you want to call him. If you're not familiar with him, but Neville actually winning the number one contender match was against Sami Zayn for Bo Dallas's title. It was November 17th, 2013. So this match taking place February 27th, but winning that in the contender match way back in November, the end of November. They then had a match for the title. It was the next episode of NXT. It was won by count out, but title didn't change hands on that one. You then had two NXT episodes later, so we're in late December at this point. You had him facing Bo Dallas again for the title. It was a lumberjack match, but ended up losing that one when Tyler Breeze interfered in the lumberjack match. But then he became the number one contender again after Bo Dallas. It was actually a beat the clock challenge. We don't see a whole lot of beat the clock challenges, but those are, fun when they're happening and stuff like that. And so because, Bo Dallas getting distracted and stuff like that, but not beating the clock. So Neville, like I said, the end of January, when we're in the end of February for this show, becoming the number one contender again. And then Triple H just announcing, though, the week later that the match would be a ladder match at this show. So that's how we get there. Plain and simple, kind of easy stuff. Dallas is the champ, and then just kind of doing it that way. So, yeah, that not much else to talk about, but that's okay.
I mean, these two, I'd imagine it's going to be a banger, and I'm looking forward to it. And sometimes I just love covering great wrestling matches,
Absolutely.
It's not a long one, so I'm sure it's just going to be fast paced and a lot of fun. So
we haven't covered we haven't covered a ladder match in a while either. So this is
been a while. So you'll refresh my memory on how it works, like how the winner's crowned during the match.
Oh, yeah, of course. The stipulations of the ladder match. Of course, this one you have to very slowly. You can't do it too fast because the ladder would tip over, fall. You might hurt yourself. But this is, of course, the NXT belt, which is the great NXT, like with the big X.
Great belt.
Great belt. Hanging above the ring, 50 feet. Who knows? 100 feet, just way above the ring. That's why you got to climb so slowly. But and then you have to set up a ladder in the center of the ring, climb to the top, and then unhook the belt from the hook that is at the top of the ring. And so,
and obviously, the more tired you get, the harder it is to climb, and the harder it is to unhook the belt. So
yes, and again, and I want to remind this is just good advice for anyone listening. Always climb the ladder slow. You never want to hurry, and just take care of yourself. I just hope everybody has fun. That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see what happens here and go from there.
All right, let's get in. Oh, hold on. So 40-minute mark, part 2 of NXT ArRIVAL, season 1, episode 2 on Peacock. Yep. 40 minutes on the dot. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
All right, here we go. You're right. That beautiful belt right in between the two of them. It's being hoisted up top. I like this. Both are kind of intense looking at each other. Bo Dallas with that sinister look on his face. I don't know if you know more than I do, but I guess they were trying to bring Bo Dallas back, right? And they would have unveiled him, and who knows what would have happened. But it's just hard to believe a guy with that look that could obviously work in the ring with his family history is just out of work. And I don't know if he doesn't want to work. I mean, I don't think he's doing any independence. I don't know if he, puts much out there. I don't know, but it's just, I'm looking at him right now and I'm like, how is this guy not in professional wrestling?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that
do you know anything?
He was going to be the Uncle Howdy or whatever it was.
Or he was playing it. He was doing it.
Yeah. And so we'll never know we'll never know what that could have become. Who knows? I think that that's part of why I'm interested to watch this one. Cause I've just never really, and Pac flying or Neville flying all over the ring on this one. I don't think I've ever watched a Bo Dallas match other than I Believe and him running around the ring in WWE, the main show. So That's why I'm kind of really interested to see this and kind of what kind of worker he is. And hey, granted, he was doing a little bit of a funnier gimmick, but he was there. Is this a commercial break? What do we got going on here? Yeah. Okay. Back from commercial now. That was weird. And so, yeah, kind of playing it up, it's just, but I think that who knows what we would have gotten if Bray was still alive and, these characters were to play out. I don't think we'll see them again in any form. So we'll just kind of have to wait and see what happens.
Agreed.
Both working hard right now, though.
Yeah, I mean, looks great. They both look great. So, and he had the Bo Leave thing on his tights at this point. I couldn't remember when he did that. I didn't know if that was more on the main roster.
This was not that long before this. Yeah, he was doing that. Yep.
I'll tell you, just a random observation. I felt like, and tell me if I'm right or wrong here. I felt like in NXT, Adam Cole came across like such a star and had so much potential, and I dare say was this generation Shawn Michaels. And then for whatever reason in AEW, he looks like a twerp that doesn't really fit in.
He looks smaller to me. Yeah, I don't know how that's possible.
He looks way smaller. He just looks like another indie guy in AEW, but in NXT, he looked like he was. And if Triple H was calling the shots and not Vince, I think Adam Cole would have been a big star on the main roster. And maybe there's still time for that, right? Maybe he'll come back and Triple H will put him in a really prominent position. I don't know. But I just, it's interesting how great he looked in NXT. And I thought he was, going to be a huge star on the main roster.
Yeah. So I got Neville kind of hung up on the ropes at this point. So we're going to get our first ladder finally. So here we go.
NXT, there was obviously a period where they could do no wrong. The shows were incredible. The roster was loaded. My belief, tell me if you agree or disagree. My belief is a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was no AEW. TNA wasn't really doing a whole heck of a lot. And so it was more due to the talent available that they could plug in. So, you had Samoa Joe and Drew McIntyre and Nakamura and Finn Balor and blah, 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 blah. And you had all these guys, and none of them were WWE or NXT created stars. They all came in made men, right? They all came in with an incredible, following, and we already knew who they were. And so I just don't, I look at NXT now and I'm like, well, it's not as good as it was, but how could it be? Because when guys are that good, they're going to AEW or there's other places to work, right? So that's my feeling on it, is it's not going to be what it was. And not that Triple H didn't do a good job with it, but I just think that there was a time in the business where there were, at all times, 5 to 10 really good men and women that were already established that they could put in there and build.
Yeah, and I think, it's credit to the system because, if you look at this kind of early NXT roster type days and who was there, and then really who came through, you do kind of wonder, there definitely wasn't a lack of talent. And I almost feel like they're talking about it. I almost feel the same conversations happening right now, in that some of the people in NXT just look really good. Do they have necessarily the star power off of the indies that Seth might have had, or some of these guys might have had? Maybe not, but also at the same time, I think now that we've talked about, they are building superstars that are different. I know that was, you and I have always made the complaint of they're wrestling the same style, but we're finally We're seeing some people doing some different things, whether it's like Tiffany Stratton stuff, like, she's main roster ready. Like Braun has been beyond main roster ready. And so, which I don't know if I believe this or not, but somebody said they clocked his spear at like 22, 23 miles an hour or something like that. Like
they look crazy.
He hits that thing hard as hell. My buddy was actually messaging. Oh boy, big ladder spot there. My buddy actually messages the group. He's like, Braun Breaker is getting him interested in the spear again. Like, yeah, Roman does it, Charlotte does it. Like, you've got all these people that do it, but at the same time, like, dude comes off the ropes and is just hauling ass. And so, it's absolutely worth it. And so, yeah, so I think that, but with that, like I said, I think you got a lot of people that are ready to come up, kind of do their thing. And so it'll be interesting, but yeah, it is crazy to look at who was in these first few years of NXT and where we're at now. Like, I do wonder, like, is in 5 years, are we going to be talking about Braun in the world title scene? Like, probably. Like, is Tiffany going to be, one that is in the women's picture? Yeah, absolutely. And so, I think it's just a really cool time. Same with Bianca, like watching all her matches. Like, Asuka didn't need to go to NXT because she had been so well established in Japan and Stardom and stuff like that. But also, like, they made her out to be a rock star, and that's what we got. So, they're hitting on all cylinders right now. And I think with Vince having no input anymore, and it really is Triple H and Sean's show. And I wonder how much more of it's Sean's show versus Triple H's now with all the changes that are happening. Like,
it's all Sean's show. I think he does everything.
Yeah, sky's the limit as far as I'm concerned. So good match.
Really good match so far.
We're up and down the ladder.
The caution tape on the caution tape on the ladder is kind of a nice touch.
That's a nice touch, cool. Yeah, with the yellow and gold, yeah, or black and gold, yeah, that's a nice touch. See, that's what happens. You climb too fast and it gets tipped over by somebody. You really got to be careful out there. So yeah, fans they're not really popping too much. Just kind of they're there. I thought maybe they would cheer, but yeah, a little bit happening. So.
I got something for you.
Sure.
You follow football.
Of course.
I'd assume, follow Adam Schefter.
Of course. Yep.
How often does Adam Schefter report something that turns out to be completely false?
False, rare.
Can you name an instance?
There was a big one not that long ago, I thought, but I can't remember what it was.
But in the last 5 years, how many times do you think he's been wrong about something?
2 or 3 at most.
Okay. How often in the last 5 years has Dave Meltzer been wrong about something?
Oh man, this week. Can you give me a time frame here for this?
How? And I'm not picking on Meltzer. I'm saying all of these wrestling, and I'm not even talking the like clickbait bullshit websites that make things up. I'm talking the quote unquote wrestling media. They're wrong about half the shit they post.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sasha was already going to debut in AEW. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, as of our recording, she hasn't, right?
Yes.
So-and-so's definitely gone. Oh, no, they're not. Oh, this person's injured. Oh, no, it was a work. I mean, they don't know anything. I mean, it's just so funny that it's like, you want me to take you seriously as a member of the media. You want me to take you seriously as a journalist. Fine. Let's take your favorite football journalist, your favorite baseball journalist, your Woj in the NBA. He's wrong once every 18 months and gets blasted on Twitter, right? And hey guys, sorry, I thought that this coach was retiring. I was wrong. I got bad information. You can name how many times in their career they won't be wrong 10 times. These assholes in wrestling, and so it's like, you want me to take you seriously as a member of the media. You want me to call you a journalist. You want me to treat you the way that I would, treat an Adam Schefter. But you're not acting that way. You're wrong all the time. You're wrong about the industry all the time. It's actually unbelievable. Yet you're charging people for it. I don't pay Adam Schefter $10 a month for news, but Sean Ross Sapp's getting $5 to $10 a month, and he's making stuff up.
I think, well, what was it recently? Was it the other night? I forget when it was, but it was before Vengeance a couple weeks ago, where Shawn Michaels, I saw, they do the press conferences. And I think they're cool. I like the idea of the press conference, but on the flip side, and AEW kind of started it, and then WWE kind of brought them back, or as well too. But I think that Michaels made the comment. He goes, "I'm not media trained." After it, he said, and this is of course
Michael said that.
Michael said that of something like, "I am not trained by the media, or I don't have that training," and so I think that. And Triple H kind of got burned for this too, where they said that he just didn't know how to handle some of those questions, or hey, I only want to focus on the positive, and people were like, okay, well, that's not the right answer. Like, I don't know what the right answer is. I don't think there was.
Well, the right answer in those people's minds was for Triple H to say, I think Vince McMahon is the worst human being on the planet. I hope he rots in hell. He's never welcome in my home or around his granddaughters ever again. And he can rot in hell, and I'm never going to speak to him again. And he has nothing to do with this company. And I'm embarrassed that he did that. That's what they wanted. Okay. That's what those people wanted. Well, here's the issue. Okay. He's not a lawyer. He's not the CEO of the company. He writes the fake storylines. You're discussing a man who is his daughter's grandfather and his wife's father. So I get it. Okay. Vince is awful. The things he's been accused of are awful. There's a high likelihood that they're all true or mostly true, and he needs to go away. I get that. But to think that Triple H, as the guy who writes storylines for the company, was the appropriate person to handle this. And no matter what he says, it all still happened. Vince McMahon has billions of dollars in the bank. You're not going to change anything. So who cares, right? Who cares what he or anyone else says? Let's see what the company does. Let's see what changes they're making to make sure it never happens again. But ultimately, that's a board, a CEO. I mean, I'm not minimizing Triple H's role, but he's in charge of content. He writes storylines. And would you have felt better if he spent hours on Sunday practicing a response so that he sounded like a fucking politician and gave you some fake answer? Does that make it better? So it was a no-win situation. Was the way he answered it perfect? No. But what people were looking for was not going to happen, nor should it have happened.
I think that part of it too is
I mean, do you agree? You can disagree with me. That's just how I feel.
I agree with you.
I'm not saying I'm right.
I don't disagree with you. I think the problem that compounds this is some of the press conferences worked, some of the press conferences shoot. And you've got, to my knowledge, what I've learned this week too, is like some of the, like you and I could get into that quote media room. Like people could pay to get into that media room outside of like the true, I say wrestling quote media. And so I think when you start looking at it from that angle, like there's fans there, like other than maybe the Super Bowl and it's some kid that's, that was a giant Falcon arrow. Yeah. From Neville
onto shit.
When he's laying on the ladder. Yeah. That was
now they're up. Look at them now, man. They're going nuts.
Jesus.
Jeez.
But I think until they distinguish, hey, these press conferences after the shows are not like they're part of the show. Like, yeah, you might get some in-character work, but you're also going to get some out-of-character work. I think that if you were going to have that press conference, like you should have done it separately, like, okay, let's, let's ask the tough questions here versus like after the show, because it does take away from it. Like, and like they're gonna ask that question, like unless you have someone planted and you call on them first, like, but then people are gonna think that, and so so it's just you got to be really careful in those types of situations. Yeah. Oh, and there you go. Neville winning the belt Bo Dallas couldn't climb back up in time, and so to put a bow on it, I think that like you gotta fix. Yeah, Shawn Michaels ends the conference call stating it was the quote toughest one yet and is quote not corporately trained. I want to make sure I get that right. He hopes to get back to the quote fun ones, but adds that he understands the media have to do their job and ask regarding Vince. So, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk about it forever. I felt like bashing Triple H just didn't feel like the right target in the situation.
Yeah.
And wow, that's a really cool. They got this like smoke coming down and he's there, and man, they made him look like $1 million, and wow. A guy like him would have been booked completely differently if Triple H was in charge.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You go back through history, and it's like, I mean, guys like him would have looked. I mean, imagine he would have looked so much different on the main roster.
I think he's hurt right now, which is why he's not there.
Okay,
but yeah, I'm with you. So okay,
I'll close the loop on this and just say that again, I just think that the COO whose father-in-law and grandfather of his children is in the mix isn't the person that is responsible for being the spokesperson of the company, to your point, during a somewhat storyline related press conference.
Yes.
Like it's just so I get it. He was the first person from the company that you could ask questions to, but that is a Nick Khan question or a board or an Ari Emanuel question. That's who the question goes to. So it's just the wrong audience. And so that's where it's like he's the wrong person to ask. And no matter what he says, you're not going to like the answer. So I get you asking, but I wouldn't blast him. Now, there's a lot we don't know. What did he know?
Yeah, we don't know. It'll come out. We know that. Yeah.
I think I said this to you this morning, or maybe it was somebody else, but I think there's a chance that they're going to have to wipe clean everyone that's involved with the company.
Yeah, you texted me.
I mean,
that,
if they look, they have all of his text messages. I mean, if they know, if you can prove that Nick Khan, the Triple H, that other executives, that they knew what was going on and said, look, I'm just going to stay the hell away from it and turn a blind eye. But if they knew the gist of what was going on, I don't know if they can survive. But, we'll see what happens. I follow the business. So, I'm interested in this, just like I'm interested in the storylines, just like I'm interested in the TV rights deals, and we'll see what happens. And it's absolutely horrible. But anyways, it's an interesting discussion, if nothing else. And I feel with a lot of things, we're all going to have different reactions to it based on our perspective, based on our experiences. And how I feel about it isn't right or wrong. How you feel about it isn't right or wrong. But I don't think you can look at these things and factually say, this is what this person should have done, or this. We all feel differently about it. We all look at it differently. So at any rate, awesome match. Just love the theatrics at the end. Crowd was awesome. Let's jump into the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right, what do you think?
Really good match. Like overall, like just
really
fantastic stuff. Like, they were high action. I'm not surprised by those two. It's definitely a good Bo Dallas match. I didn't pull up his top matches, but got to be one of at least the top three out there. And so, just really good on that. And so this one too, after this show, Neville, they continued to feud for a bit. There was a rematch about a month later, but Neville retained on that one, and that was the end of this feud. And so pretty simple stuff on this one. You had, though, Bo Dallas and PWI was 73. Neville was 39. This is 2014. The torch on this one On any other show, Neville and Bo Dallas would have gotten a lot of press coming out of this event. However, it was the misfortune of being overshadowed by the Cesaro Sami Zayn, but that shouldn't undercut the 3-star plus match that we saw in the main event. Overall, it was hard to find fault with this show. The Observer newsletter, this was funny. Dallas was kind of the prototypical pretty boy babyface for years here. Local guy, good hair, good smile, but the fans turned on him because his promos were so bad. So then he did this smarmy fake babyface character talking about his believers. Usually that works to make him a heel, but tonight the fans were chanting for him. They weren't against Neville, but they were more for the match. This was a good match, but as the ladder match goes, a safe match. The crowd was chanting yes as he took down the belt, 3.25 stars. So you got 3-star plus, 3.25. Tom, what are you going to give this one for your payoff score?
I got this at a 7. I thought it was a really entertaining wrestling match.
Yep.
I liked it. Thought it was good. Good main event. Really good. Entertaining guys. Right length. I guess somewhat safe, but good match. That's where I had it. What about you?
Not a lot of build and payoff on this one. I will say, the build was better, but the payoff, kind of at the very end here, kind of small. But I'm not going to fault them for that. It was early days of NXT, so you really don't know what you're kind of getting with that, but that's okay. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be at a 7 as well. I think that it was still a good match. So it was definitely want to go back and watch, especially like if you want to watch the early days of NXT. I think it was a good show. Like, no reason to not go check it out. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Want to remind everybody, of course, don't forget about both of our sponsors. You got manscaped.com. Using that promo code PAYOFF. You're getting 20% off and free shipping. So once you load up your cart with all that great stuff, you're looking at 20% off and free shipping using the code PAYOFF at manscaped.com. And of course, Codera Lab, of course, don't forget about that good stuff there as well, too. That kind of men's skincare products, whether it's the eye cream, whether it's soap, whatever it is, kind of moisturizer. They got all kinds of good stuff. So make sure you're using the same code there, PAYOFF. That's getting you 20% off as well. Everything there in their store. So if you're just looking to take care of yourself, we got you covered, whether it's Caldera and Lab or manscaped.com, all kinds of good stuff there. So yeah, we've had a good week last week with Sting Vader. We've got a pretty good week this week with this ladder match, but then unfortunately next week, not so good.
It's going to be something.
It's going to be something. I'm getting it set up right now, and it's just it's going to be rough. So we're talking a Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage versus the Alliance to end Hulkamania. This is WCW. Unfortunately 1996. So we will figure out what's going on and go from there.
We'll see you next week on an all new episode of